and gentlemen. Greetings to you wherever you are from your respective locations around the world. The situation is serious. What Russia has just done in Ukraine on May 17th, 2025, has sent the West into a panic. Westerners are outraged. You can't even imagine. You know, even though talks have started in Istanbul, let's note that this was at Vladimir Putin's initiative. Negotiations are underway for a lasting peace, but at the same time, the war is still being waged. There is no pause. Meanwhile, in the minds and thoughts of Westerners, while they are already at the negotiating table, negotiating, each side should calm down, temper their enthusiasm, and therefore try to slow the conflict down a bit. In the absence of a ceasefire, you will recall that the Western countries insisted adamantly that Russia implement a 30-day ceasefire. This is something that Russia refused. But yesterday, Russia set a major condition regarding the ceasefire. So, there is no ceasefire, which means the conflict continues in the same way. Except that Russia has intensified its strikes, and particularly the strike that Mutendo, one of the Ukrainian cities, experienced on May 17th, a drone strike, which is simply unimaginable. Yes, it's unimaginable. The West, everyone is up in arms. All the European leaders, each one is making their own comments. Look, they are all up in arms. France, that's a whole other story. Emmanuel Macron doesn't know what to do. He no longer knows which way to turn. He's turning against President Donald Trump. So, which city are we talking about? And what is the nature of this strike that in fact shocked the world during or right after the official start of the talks in Istanbul? So, that's what we're going to discuss in this video conference, ladies and gentlemen. But before we continue, I ask you to share this video conference as much as possible. Give it lots of likes. Give it lots of likes. That gives the video conference more visibility. So, according to official information, it was a minibus carrying civilians in Ukraine, in the city of Bilopila. That's in the northeast of Ukraine. This minibus was hit by a Russian strike on May 17th. At least 9 people have passed away. Right away, it should be said that Russia was not targeting the minibus. Russia was only aiming at the city of Bilopila. The drones were just being sent out, but the drones encountered the minibus on their way there and sent the minibus to eternal rest. But Westerners believe that Russia deliberately targeted this minibus carrying civilians. So, this is according to official information, or the Western version, this is a Russian drone attack on a minibus carrying civilians, which sent 9 people to eternal rest. And in the Sumy region, so the minibus was heading towards Sumy. This strike comes the day after talks between Kiev and Moscow about a ceasefire that did not succeed. The Ukrainian military administration of the border region of Sumy specified that the vehicle was heading towards Sumy. The vehicle was heading towards Sumy. Yes. The same source had rather described this attack as cynical on Russia's part. They say it's a cynical attack, meaning they don't understand why Russia continues to attack. And if everything were limited to this attack, one could understand. But there was a statement made yesterday in the negotiation room by the head of the Russian delegation, Vladimir Medensky. This statement has troubled the West. without even discouraging the Ukrainians. People are wondering whether the talks will continue. Because he said yesterday in the room that Russia is ready to fight for another year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, as long as it takes. In other words, he said that Russia is ready to fight forever. They are ready, and this is nothing new. So it gives the impression that the Russians did not come to the negotiations to achieve peace. They want to continue. So we have this statement that was made just the day after Russia carries out a strike that the whole world is talking about. That's another very strong message. So, according to the Ukrainian version, instead of putting an end to sending people to their eternal rest, as the United States, Europe, Ukraine, and others are proposing, they risk that Putin continues to wage war against civilians. This is the denunciation made by the Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Isaac Andriy Sibia. So, things are really not going well. And today, Saturday, the Kremlin even announced that a meeting between President Vladimir Putin and Zelensky was possible on the condition that Moscow and Kiev had reached agreements beforehand. So, that means Vladimir Putin, Russia, carries out strikes. He strikes cleanly. When things start to get tense, they say, well, if you want us to meet, for Putin to meet with Zelensky, it's possible. It's not impossible. But an agreement would have to be reached first. Yes, that agreements are reached beforehand. That's the condition. Otherwise, it's not possible. On the other side, Emmanuel Macron is very upset about this strike, this deadly strike. Emmanuel Macron says he's absolutely certain that Donald Trump will respond to Putin's cynicism after this attack. Yes, he says he's sure that Trump will react. So what kind of reaction does he want from Trump? To impose sanctions, packages of sanctions. That's what they want. That's what they're asking for. And these sanction packages will only worsen, intensify the situation, make things worse at the front, because Putin is ready to keep going. And moreover, what should be added is that North Korea is getting ready to really join the fray. We'll come back to that. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that was the top news story. Thank you for sharing it as much as possible. I'll be back with more news for you shortly. This was the voice of your one and only samurai.